to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me: how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavisTalks.com right now. That's TavisTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Top 1580, download the app.
Jesse Jackson. The Jesse Jackson Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We have 2 very special guests today. Atiba and Brother Torres are going to join us, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. But I've decided to take the first segment of the show just to opine for a moment. In 1973, when Bruce Lee died, a movie that he did not live to see came out titled Enter the Dragon. Enter the Dragon, for me to this day, is still the standard for martial arts film, the intersection, the nexus, if you will, between classic kung fu and taekwondo and other systems of mixed martial arts that led to the burgeoning industry that really celebrates Bruce Lee and his capacity to move from the distance that is taekwondo to the infighting of jiu-jitsu to the grappling of on-the-ground wrestling. In the life of Bruce Lee, we saw the combination of so many systems and true expressions of authenticity in the physical form that have elevated Bruce Lee decades after his death to a truly authentic icon that we cannot ignore. Part of his system was the idea that he believed, as I believe, in the idea of what he called the intercepting fist. The intercepting fist. It's a simple philosophy, but it's something that's penetrating for me theologically, politically, physically, intentionally, psychologically, in almost every discipline. That God gives each of us the power to intercept intentionality. To intercept. And in the space of interception or stimuli, we have the opportunity to choose the path that we want to pursue. We can intercept based upon the foot positioning of an opponent, based upon their largest or longest strike weapon, which might be their right jab or their left jab or their uppercut. Based upon how their feet are positioned, we know exactly which weapon is available to them to attack us with. The way of the intercepting fist. The same movement in feet positioning determines whether or not the right jab is available or the left uppercut is available. And so one can position one's body in a position that intercepts intentionality. Let's get out of the ring for a minute and just think about politics. We can intercept the behavior of Donald John Trump. We can intercept the behavior of the MAGA movement because from 1619 to the present, Racial behavior is so consistent that it's not really defined by the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. It is defined by African American history. And that history itself shares with us the flow and the continuity of how far the Democrats are willing to go on questions of life, liberty, and happiness for African Americans. And after 1854, how far Republicans are willing to go, the party of Lincoln, and the difficulties that Abraham Lincoln experienced within the Republican Party on questions of freedom, the challenges that he had to fight within the Republican Party on the liberation, if you will, and freedom of the Negro, with perfect military timing, given that the nation was engaged in a civil war. And of course, during that period, the Democratic Party, the party of slavery, the agrarian party from Virginia around to Texas, and what their reaction and or behavior might be to the idea of equality for Black people. In other words, if we understand the history, we can intercept the behavior and the intentionality of any opponent, whether it is a spouse who's about to slap the hell out of you. You can anticipate it. It is interceptable. You can step back, get out of the way. You can de-escalate. You can leave, go to the local bar, have a drink, or just sit out on your porch and say, you know what? This isn't going well, because the conversation itself is not good. The way of the intercepting fist, from my perspective, is clearly the religion of Jesus of Nazareth. Not as a fighting form, but as a thinking form. That we can actually intercept human intentionality and spirit. We don't have to be surprised. We don't have to be shocked. But if there ever were a study, Nikola Tesla said, into the core of the spirit energy, which he and his mind was incapable, he said, of completely understanding, we may unlock the key to the very structure of the universe itself. I realize this isn't a conversation about race and black and white and what we want to think about more in terms of morality, but it's a question about the capacity to intercept intentionality. And on the 97th birthday of our King, Martin Luther King Jr., it is increasingly clear to me that he understood the way of the interception of intentionality. We can feel, understand, and feel the spirit energy of other people in our direction. That says a lot, because it's God's way of giving us the advantage. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Thought-Provoking Thursdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest and a regular contributor, Atiba, will be with us with a very special guest. We'll talk about the world. We'll cover a lot of real estate, but I'm particularly grateful that I've been afforded this opportunity on KBLA Talk 1580 to discuss intentionality and intercepting the spirit of other people, of movements, of what's going on in our world. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It is Thought-Provoking Thursdays. Atiba is a former Deputy Executive Director of the National Black Caucus of State Legislators, NBCSL. He's a strategic alliance consultant and president of Party Politics US. He's worked as a TV political contributor for BNC News, The Heat, In the Know with Mo, The Leslie Marshall Show, iHeartRadio, GovExec, 96.3 WHUR, and One American News Network. He most recently was a guest host on Rising, an American daily news and opinion web series produced by Washington, D.C. political newspaper The Hill. In 2020, Atiba released his formal novel, Saving Grace, a political thriller. And I hope at some point in time he adds his name to having been a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show to his extraordinary biography. Hi, Atiba. Welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's good to be with you. And you're the boss. You can just add it whenever you like.
I wish I was the boss. It's been a long time since I felt that way. Atiba, welcome forward to the show. I'm very grateful that Atiba will be bringing a very special guest in this hour, jazz flautist and Latin Grammy award-winning artist Nestor Torres. Rhythmic and mellifluous flute sound remains part in a class by itself. His 14 recordings as a soloist, 4-time Grammy nominations winner and nominator, 1 Grammy nomination and 1 Latin Grammy Award, collaborations with diverse artists such as Gloria Estefan, Kenny Loggins, Dave Matthews, Herbie Hancock, Tito Puente, Michael Camilo Paquito de Rivera, and Arturo Sandoval, as well as performances within Cleveland, Singapore, and the New World Symphony Orchestra, among many others, are testaments to the remarkable journey of an artist who continues to grow and enrich the lives of those who experience his talents. I'm grateful that you're bringing Brother Torres to our show. Brother Torres, welcome to our show.
Thank you so very much. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
I have to pitch it to Atiba to get us started. I'm particularly honored that in this longest segment of our show, Atiba has a very special guest, Brother Nestor Torres. Atiba.
So first off, I want to thank both of you, Jesse and Nestor, for being here today. I know, today in that first segment, Jesse, you talked about Bruce Lee and you talked about interception. And, one of the things that really comes to mind today is, of course, all the things that are going on in the world, but also what are the things that bring us together? And one of those things I think that brings people together all over the world, regardless of language barriers or nationality, et cetera, is music. So, Nestor, I want to say thank you so much for you joining today. Nestor, we met since I've been living here in Miami. And the first time that I heard him blow one note through his flute, I was blown away and have had the opportunity to see him many times since then. But Nestor, I want to thank you for joining us today, particularly on today being Dr. King's birthday.
Very meaningful indeed, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for your kind words. And indeed, culture, music, and the arts is that connective thread that does brings us all together. And throughout the years, I have learned there are two pivotal points in my personal life that allowed me to see that there is more to music and to the arts than entertainment or the need for the artist to express him or herself. In other words, there's a sense of mission, there's a sense of purpose to my work as an artist, as a musician. And so I'm very excited and very humbled uh, and curious to be able to engage in this kind of dialogue. If you might continue, Jesse, you started, the show with some very, profound words of self-reflection, using, of course, as Atiba mentioned, Bruce Lee, and intentionality was a key word. And towards the end of of what you were sharing, you said you recognize how the conversation or what you were sharing transcended or transcends the concepts of politics and race. And I think that, especially in a day like today, you're right on point as to, you know, giving yourself permission or just really choosing to move beyond that. Because I believe that today, one of our greatest challenges, both in the political realm as well as this kind of a caste, societal caste system that we have, as Elizabeth Wilkerson puts it, we get caught. We get caught in that world, in that paradigm of politics, the paradigm of race or caste, and because we get caught in it, we're not able to really step outside of it and see it from a broader, more objective perspective. And so I believe that your words and what you're bringing up with that is one of the most if not the most effective way or form in which you can really gain that power of understanding, of of interception, of intentionality. So I'm very glad that you got started us with those words.
I'm particularly honored, Nestor, that you are here today, Brother Torres. And I want to ask you the question because when I think about and look at your biography, you say that September 11th, 2001 was a turning point in your life. You
Yes.
received all of the energy of what it represented. And in art form, it has changed who you are. It
Yes.
changes the notes. The notes are not the same. They are not the notes of any other flautist that's ever existed because they did not live through your very human experience. And I think about the turning points in human history. They express themselves in very different ways, and I'm particularly grateful that Atiba brought you on our show because you recognize that the moment created a shift in the art form. And I love Cornel West, who often talks about one of his favorite jazz musicians who when I listen to the music, it says one thing, but because Cornell West understands the history within which that particular musician is expressing themselves, these adjustments are occurring in his music.
Mm.
Nestor, share with
Yeah.
us the turning point in your art form.
Well, to be specific, thank you for that. To be specific about that moment that you mentioned, the Latin Grammys had been established in 1999 or so. I was nominated for a Latin Grammy for the song Luna Latina on the first Latin Grammy Awards. And it was nominated in the same category, one of the categories that Carlos Santana was nominated with for his record, Supernatural. So you can imagine that, just to be nominated in the same category, which of course, he won. But then the following year was nominated again for the album This Side of Paradise, and I was so excited. I really had a shot. My focus was completely all about the Latin Grammys. I went to Los Angeles, stayed at Beverly Hills Hilton, and I practiced the Buddhism of Nichiren Daishonin by the Soka, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So that morning from Beverly Hills, I was going to Santa Monica to do my morning prayers. And the ballet parking folks just told me, the young man told me, Maestro, there's no show tonight. It didn't register. Until then, I got in the car and it was really quiet, and I was listening to NPR. And it just so happens that that morning was September 11th, 2001. So, needless to say, the award show, the award ceremony did not happen that day. I was asked to, or encouraged to come back to Los Angeles the following month, and that's when I received the Latin Grammy. But what struck me about that experience was that what had been so important to me, which the Latin Grammy was an all-consuming, thing in my life. In a moment, it was gone. It became completely irrelevant because I felt that if my work as an artist could not prevent such atrocities from happening, then what for? And so it is that, whereas an award is received, or you earn an award based on accomplishments, and past accomplishment. For me, this Latin Grammy was a departure point. It was okay. So from this moment on, what do I do? And I had to do something. And so I decided to go to New York. I hired a recording engineer, portable recording equipment. I contacted, my office contacted St. Peter's Church, Catholic Church near Ground Zero, a small synagogue in the West Village, New York Community Church on Pike Avenue. I went to the Sokaraka, Culture Center, the Buddhist sect that I practice, and I just improvised. I improvised, and whatever showed up. My intention was that I wanted to capture whatever was going on in the city at the time. And over a period of a couple of 3 years, I got the recordings, I edited them, I transcribed them, and a few of them came out as songs. And quite a bit of that work actually was released in an album called Dances, Prayers, and Meditations for Peace. And so it was imperative, it was very clear to me that, as I mentioned earlier, rather than being an entertainer or an artist for art's sake, that I had the duty, the responsibility, that having the gift that I have, to utilize that to be an agent of change, as it were. Uh, but that said, what is it? What is that kind of change? How do we change, society? How do we change the world? As an artist, I feel that, music and the arts can, the intention, talk about intentionality, is to reignite or rehumanize the human heart, to touch, to bring us back to our common humanity. And that is on the one hand, it can be very sounds lofty, it sounds idealistic, it sounds most likely naive to many. But there's two components for that. One is that however we want to, whatever change we need, we want to affect, whatever commitment we make to change, whether it's social, political, economical, societal, the change, as it has been said so very many times, it needs to begin with us. How do I change? How can I transform my own life? And the second point is that we can talk about politics. We talk about the Republicans and the Democrats and communism, socialism, or corporations or banks. All these institutions are created by individual human beings. So it is not until there are enough of us, enough human beings that are able or make a commitment to transform their own lives, that's when we will really see a fundamental change. So that was that turning point for me. Really changed my outlook. Mind you, that perspective has been informed by my spiritual and philosophical practice for many years. But how do we really apply it how do we make that a practical thing? And so that's what really informs my music now. And I'm very blessed and very grateful that audiences receive my music the way they do. And it has taken me a very long time, Atiba and Jesse. I don't know if you gentlemen have grappled with this, that it is said that we'll have our unique gifts, but how long is it before we really take full ownership of the fact, what, I do have an amazing gift. Yes, I do have something to offer. And not from a place of arrogance or self-importance, but from a place of service, to have the confidence that, yes, I do what I do and nobody else does. And then come from that place.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Conversations with Atiba. He's brought a very special guest to our show, Mr. Nestor Torres, a flautist, who's sharing with us his transition and his transformative experience as an artist. More with Atiba and Conversations with Nestor Torres when we come forward on KBLA. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on Thought-Provoking Thursdays.
After nearly 20 years in Congress, he knows how to get at the issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. This is where prominent people unpack perplexing problems. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. One of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, Brigadier General Enoch Woody Woodhouse, has celebrated his 99th birthday in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Today, we celebrate a true American hero. General, happy birthday.
Woodhouse trained at Tuskegee Airmen Airfield and became one of the first Black aviators to serve in World War II. Quincy's mayor honored him as an icon of U.S. history. HBCU Howard University has officially introduced Ted White as its new head football coach. White, a former Howard University quarterback, returned to campus Tuesday and spoke emotionally about his connection to the school. And rapper J. Cole has announced a February 6th release date for his long-awaited album, The Fall Off. In a new social media video, Cole reflects on fame while teasing new music from what would be his 7th studio album, fueling speculation it could be his final project. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Starting in the San Fernando Valley, 101 eastbound before Lost Hills Road. It's a two-vehicle collision, and it's blocking the slow lane. No delays, though, approaching the accident scene. In the Inland Empire, not far from Ontario, 15 southbound transition to the West 60. A four-vehicle crash is clearing off this connector road. You have a little bit of sluggish traffic on the South 15 from the 10 down to the 60. 5 northbound at Red Hill in Tustin. It's a two-vehicle crash quickly cleared from the middle lanes to the right shoulder.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
As we honor Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday today, he would be overjoyed with the level of achievements in sports by African Americans. Dr. King never saw a black head coach in the NFL, a black manager in Major League Baseball, or a black man or woman win a national championship in college basketball. Today, only 11 of the NFL's 32 teams have never hired a full-time black head coach. 2 black head coaches have won a Super Bowl, Mike Tomlin with Pittsburgh and Tony Dungy with Indianapolis. 3 black managers have won a World Series. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts has 3 World Series rings. 5 black coaches have won an NCAA men's basketball title. John Thompson was the first with Georgetown in 1984. 2 black coaches have won a women's basketball national title. Dawn Staley has 3 at South Carolina. Carolyn Peck was the first sister to win a title in 1999 with Purdue. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me: how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavisTalks.com right now. That's TavisTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
Unwrap LA this winter with Metro. Whether you're heading to a family gathering or last-minute shopping, Metro's got you. Enjoy free rides across Metro on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Move with joy. Move with community this holiday season. Go Metro. Join Ignited Light at the 10th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, Saturday, January 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Holman United Methodist Church, 3320 West Adams Boulevard, west of Arlington. This service for humanity brings together community providers offering free food and clothing, medical screenings, legal, dental, academic, and career services, plus vaccinations, flu shots, HIV and STD testing, and blood pressure checks. All are welcome. That's January 17th at Holman United Methodist Church. For more information, go to adayon.org. That's adayon.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is Nestor Torres and with Atiba on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Atiba, I know that you have a number of questions for Brother Torres that we need to explore. Atiba?
Thank you, Jesse. I want to take it back to the fact that today is Dr. King's 97th birthday. And there's a quote that I came across today that says, people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Nestor, I started this off with my first question and, talking about your music, because I think your music is just amazing. I've seen, crowds and crowds of people who've come to listen to you perform. And then you traveled all over the world. And you and I have had some conversations about, you mentioned Cass and Isabel Wilkerson. In fact, Jesse, the reason why I read that book is because of Nestor. Right after we met, he gifted me with that book, and I gifted him with Saving Grace. But the thing about you, Nestor, and watching your travels around the world, the fact that you've had audience with the Dalai Lama, what is it that you've seen in terms of music being a catalyst to bringing people together? Or have you seen it to being a catalyst to bringing people together? And what do you see today in terms of, as we're celebrating this birthday, as we're seeing so much unrest that's going on here and abroad? Do you see any opportunities where music and the cultures or what have you that, what do you see in terms of what are you hearing when you're traveling around the world about what's happening here? And do you see opportunities for us to still find ways to come together?
Well, that is a very multi-layered question. I'll try to be as direct as possible. But I have to tell you, gentlemen, you are dangerous people because you ask questions that get me started, and I don't know where to stop. Gina is screaming at me.
I'm not dangerous. It's a Gina.
Go to break. But, traveling all over the world, you can see, that the term common humanity is not a term. It's very real. So I can say that unequivocally. That when we come together, to have an experience in sharing music and sharing art, that is universal. In fact, very short, I'll try to be as quick as possible. There's a fantastic jazz club in Orlando within the Dr. Phillips Arts Center complex. It's called Jetsons. And my first performance there was right after the election in 2023, I think, And so at the end of the show, I conclude with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I share some words. And something just showed up for me to say, here we have a fantastic audience. We have a wonderful show. Everybody's really enjoying together. And I said, well, we just had an election, and I'm sure that there's some people that are very happy with the results. Nervous chuckle, nervous laughter. And at the same time, I know that there's some people that are not happy with the results. Nervous chuckle. I said, but you know what? Here we all are enjoying being present. And Jesse, I got to tell you that it was this collective gasp when I just pointed at we are here together. So the goosebumps, like, and we are. And so that, to that aspect, to that part of the question, I think like, yes, and the time is now. And we're seeing it, what I'm loving about this moment is, I am Puerto Rican, and we have this artist, Benito Antonio, better known as Bad Bunny. Here you have a young man that has been doing music that by some of us, artists that, are about excellence, about great voices. He's very urban. He's very much of the street. And the young people love his music, and others not so much. But he has been able to use his talent and his tremendous success as a phenomenal platform, so that even in a different language such as Spanish, he's transcended and he's broken every record, and he's going to be at the Super Bowl. Now, is it because the people at the NFL are being humanistic and want to be inclusive? No, they just want to reach as many people as possible. So, and I'd like to throw that back at you, if you don't mind, Atiba, Jesse, about that. When we talk about intentionality, using this example, and I'm going back to, I haven't forgotten about the intention of, or the theme of celebrating, Martin Luther King's birthday. But, NFL's intentionality, it can be said to be purely economical. But yet, by having an artist such as Bad Bunny, the statement that is being made and the barriers that are being crossed, what are your thoughts on that in terms of the impact of the arts and music?
I'd like to be the questioner today because I don't know how much more time, Nestor, we have with you. I see an intentionality in Venezuela, in Colombia, in Haiti, in Puerto Rico, the president's response in his first term to the hurricane, Cuba, to what's taking place in Greenland and in Nigeria with a president of the United States, Atiba, who has bombed 8 countries in the first term of his presidency. I see something. Now, I don't want to misread it, but as Afro-Colombians and Afro-Venezuelans and Afro-South Americans and as African Americans, we smell shit before we step in it, man. I mean, something's happening here to black and brown people, including the deportation of them from the United States, that is on a scale that, while I cannot determine how to call it or how to define it by a word in the English language, which is ever changing, Atiba, I see something that's happening here, and it's in my core. I mean, I'm uncomfortable to the point that, I need to read the newspaper on the toilet in the morning because I can't get up fast enough.
I prefer to be the questioner here too, Jesse. Let me start it with that way. And so thank you for throwing that back though, Nestor, because, last week, Jesse, you asked me about party politics and how we collect data. Well, the whole idea was, how do you use the arts? How do you use music? How do you use art? How do you use chefs? How do you use parties to bring people together? Because just like in sports, when you're in a stadium, like people will be watching Bad Bunny, over 1 billion people around the world, and people who are going to pay astronomical amounts of money to be in that stadium, nobody's going to ask the person next to them, are you a Republican or Democrat? Are you an immigrant or not? Everybody's going to be there watching that game. That's what brings us together. And I think that part of the context and part of the reason why, Nestor, I wanted to invite you on today is because I think that we are so caught and mired in fear that we don't have enough things to give us hope. And I think that the arts, and you think about the 20s, 100 years ago, the roaring 20s and what came out of that. I keep waiting to see what's going to come out of these 20s now, because we seem to be on a similar path. But we're not going to find peace until first we find peace within ourselves. And I think that's where arts come in.
We have a little bit less than 1 minute before we come forward. And so I'd like a very brief answer from Nestor. And then I assure you that after we come forward, we have about 9 minutes left in the show. Nestor, 1 minute.
Yes. Back to your concern about what's happening with the current political situation. You know what? People, all of us naturally focus on the individual in power right now. But he only has the power that we, the people, give him. And so, in a sense, I happen to be squarely encouraged that now there's no more hypocrisy in this country. There's no hypocrisy. There's no veil as to what's going on. We'll talk about that a little bit after the break. But at least now we know what we're confronting. And so that fundamental darkness has been inherent since the very birth of this country. We have an opportunity to transform it, but it's probably going to get a lot uglier, or it's getting just as ugly as it gets, before we can really transform and see that gleam of light that you talked about at the beginning.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Conversations with Atiba. Our very special guest is Nestor Torres, a flautist who has been a Grammy Award-winning and multi-Grammy-nominated artist. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous, drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit LADWP.com/leap. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Join Ignited Light at the 10th Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, Saturday, January 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Holman United Methodist Church, 3320 West Adams Boulevard, west of Arlington. This service for humanity brings together community providers offering free food and clothing, medical screenings, legal, dental, academic, and career services, plus vaccinations, flu shots, HIV and STD testing, and blood pressure checks. All are welcome. That's January 17th at Holman Pullman United Methodist Church. For more information, go to adayon.org. That's adayon.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today is the 97th birthday, the actual birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. Our very special guest is Nestor Torres, a rhythmic and mellifluous flutist who has been a Grammy Award-winning artist as well as a multi-Grammy winning artist. And these are conversations that we have newly scheduled, used to be on Wednesday, now on Thursdays, with Atiba. Atiba, Mr. Flores, forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. It's always good to be with you, Jesse.
Atiba.
And Nestor. Yeah, so Nestor, I don't know if you wanted to continue from where you were going before the break, but, just in this last piece in terms of, again, we were talking about what you see from around the world in terms of, and then also I think you brought up a great piece about Bad Bunny and the Super Bowl. But in terms of, again, just really wanting to get your thoughts, and I will add this in terms of this being Dr. King's birthday, is I think a lot about history, and like we've read about things like about nonviolence and about different strategies that were used. And it's crazy for me. And I don't know if this happens for you or Jesse or others, but more and more I'm understanding better the things that I was reading in history books. And it's almost crazy that we have to go through this in order to have a better understanding, not just of what we read, but to understand when we hear people say, I can't believe they did that. But that's exactly what we see happening right now today.
Well, that's what has been happening since the inception of this country. And, my beloved Kimberly, you know her, Atiba, she's listening. And when I told her I was going to be on the show, she half jokingly said, be careful what you're saying. And, it would be completely humorous. Oh, it'd be so funny were it not for the fact that we're living in a time in which, what? You really have to be careful about what you're saying.
Yeah, I heard that.
At the same time, I believe, and coming back to intentionality, what I'm about to say, it's like, look, there is a need, and I'm so happy that we're having these dialogues. There is a third conversation that needs to be happening, which is the kind of environment in which, we can have a safe space where people of opposing views can have very frank, difficult conversations without judgment, with mutual respect, so that they can be a mutual understanding. And so, yes, music is definitely a connective threat to it. But in the end, how can we really have conversations? That, I write music, that attest to that, and I have actually written some, spoken words, some poems about, poet's revolution, how we need to bring about
the change, that we want to see, about peace with myself. And so we can express a lot through music. But to both points, because I think I want to get back to what Jesse talked about in terms of what's going on today. We have to really confront our own trauma as a country, which is really a body of individuals. And this is an opportunity. This very dark, alarming time, is a phenomenal opportunity because, what the president of the United States has done in Venezuela is absolutely unabashedly, unconscionably illegal. It's wrong. Now, mind you, if the Venezuelans and Cubans are listening to me, they might berate me because, oh my God, he's bringing the liberation. Well, no, he's not. We are talking about two very bad situations. What is a common threat? That none of the leadership, whether it's a socialist dictatorship or a democratic dictatorship that we have allowed, we have actually elected a dictator to power. He said it. He was not, dealing it. He was not being a hypocrite. That is the one redeeming quality about Donald Trump. He's not a hypocrite. He's a liar. He's a conniver. He's a manipulator. But he's not a liar because he said, I will be a dictator and I'm going to take my enemies down. He said it, you see? So there is no longer the veil of that aspirational identity of the United States. It's no longer there. However, that said, I believe in the United States. I still believe that we can definitely be a more perfect union, but we cannot be the United States. Like, for example, and I cannot stop, 9/11, what happened? I thought at the time it was a time of cynicism. The world was looking down upon the United States. Things were not good. I was shocked when 9/11 happened. The entire planet just came to the support, expressing tremendous support for the United States. And my heart was moved because I realized, oh my goodness, the world still needs us. The world needs the United States of America, but the world needs the United States of America of what it can be, what its original intention is. And for that to happen, we have to continue to do this and transcend our boundaries of identity, of race, and just, come to a common place. And as an artist, that's what I'm really intending to do.
Atiba, as you know, we end our show on a word of hope. I think we have a little bit more time than the word of hope. Atiba, let me allow you to direct one more question to our very special guest, Nestor Torres. And then, Nestor, we're going to leave you 3 minutes to offer our listenership around the world a word of hope. Atiba?
So we've gotten into a whole lot of other pieces, Nestor, and I know it's a kind of real quick, but can you tell us also, what got you into music? What put you on this path?
My father was a musician. And it's been, part of my life. And what really has brought me to the path of music with purpose is just that, finding a sense of purpose. Because as a musician, or an artist, you either seek fame or fortune, or you seek an opportunity to express yourself, and those things, ultimately can be unfulfilling. But when we use our art or our culture or talent for a purpose, then, we really are able to find, that a life of fulfillment. May I offer those words of hope, if I may? Is it okay? Do we have time?
Absolutely.
The words of hope?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, these are very dark times, indeed. There's no question about it. But we are also, as I said, at a time of great opportunity. And this is what music brings about. I mean, you have Donald Trump, and then you have Bad Bunny, and you might sing, while this is happening, while the dictatorship is unfolding in the United States, the ultimate, a democratic action at a cultural level is happening. There's no greater, that's an amazing thing. In the end, for all the things that we could take about hope, we must begin, I feel, by, acknowledging that we possess infinite potential, that we can affect change where we are. And if everything seems that there's no hope, then it's up to us to create hope. And I'll close with these words. There's a young lady I was reading her experience and her journey through life. And then she came to a place in which she said, I realized, I'm paraphrasing, I realized that I was looking for a ray of light through the clouds. but then I decided that rather than looking for that little bit of a light among the clouds, let me be the sunshine in someone's life. So, we must create hope. I mean, it begins at home, it begins at work. Let me be that light, even when I don't feel it, even when I'm really feeling dark, even when I have to fake it. Because when we really, pay attention to another person's suffering or transcend our own interest, it's like the very very well-known saying, suffering, when we share, suffering is cut in half. And when we share our joys, is multiplied. Wow. So let us be that hope. Let us create hope. And in so doing, there are enough of us, and then we can really bring about a fundamental transformation in our own lives, the lives of our family and our community, and in so doing, the entire world. Thank you, gentlemen.
That might be as profound as it possibly gets. We're going to close on
Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Atiba.
that is the great flautist, Nestor Torres, as we conclude this hour of our program. Thank you very much, Atiba, for our conversation. And thank you, Mr. Torres, for your participation. Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. One of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, Brigadier General Enoch Woody Woodhouse, has celebrated his 99th birthday in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Today, we celebrate our true American hero, General. Happy birthday.
Woodhouse trained at Tuskegee Airmen Airfield and became one of the first Black aviators to serve in World War II. Quincy's mayor honored him as an icon of U.S. history. HBCU Howard University has officially introduced Ted White as its new head football coach. White, a former Howard University quarterback, returned to campus Tuesday and spoke emotionally about his connection to the school. And rapper J. Cole has announced a February 6th release date for his long-awaited album, Fall Off. In a new social media video, Cole reflects on fame while teasing new music from what would be his seventh studio album, fueling speculation it could be his final project. With BIN News Now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with